Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Life Show. I'm your host, Ian Hartitz. It is a great day to be great. It's a great day to say Happy New Year, everyone. I hope all of your fantasy football hopes and dreams came true in 2025. But if not, new year, new you. It's time to get some new fantasy football championship hardware, regardless of what happened last year. I can't even freaking remember what happened in 2025. That's how long it's been. And maybe, a few too many Mike's Hard Lemonades over the course of New Year's Eve. But dang it, if celebrating America and the new year is wrong, then I don't want to be right. But all that aside, guys, I want to let you know that today's show going to be a little bit different than usual. We'll be back to regularly scheduled programming next week, breaking down what happened in week 18, starting to get into the NFL draft a little bit, and then also previewing some of the playoff matchups. But today's show, actually, we're going to be celebrating some of the best segments and best moments from all of our Fantasy Life shows throughout the last season. So this will obviously include plenty of clips from the Fantasy Life show, which you're listening to right now. Appreciate all of you there, but also have a very awesome award-winning Sirius XM show with Kendall Valenzuela and Adam Ronis, and also I've been producing multiple TV shows every single week with our fine friends over at LG. So whole cast of Fantasy Life, crew will be on hand here. Dwayne McFarland, Peter Overset, Matthew Freeman, amongst others. So again, kick back, relax, maybe grab a Mike's Hard Lemonade for yourself and enjoy some of the best moments from our shows. So again, I will be quiet now, but thank you again for tuning in all season long and also today. And yeah, hopefully you guys had a great 2025, and here's to an even better 2026. So with that, let's get after it.
Guys, we are so excited to be back with you here. Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis, and the one and only, you see him on your screen right now, Greg Olsen is joining us, former All-Pro and award-winning broadcaster. Greg, thank you so much for taking the time here to join us today. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks for having me.
I have to start off with this, Greg, because I heard from someone, maybe in this Zoom call, maybe not, that you're coming from training camp practice for your son. And we were told the coaching staff lineup, and I just want to know how that's legal. Like, it's not only you, but you've got Keekly out there, you've got your dad, and you're training your son and doing a training camp. I just want to know how that got past everyone. You must be an alpha team.
We're trying. We're not there yet, but you know what? We have a really good group of boys. We've done this now at our kids' middle school for the second year. So we've been coaching a lot of these boys since they were little, and it's fun to see them grow. Now they're in 7th and 8th grade. We tell them all the time, like, we're playing real football now, right? It's not 4th and 5th grade. We're just kind of teaching everybody how to buckle their chin straps. Now we're playing real football. We're competing, and we're teaching them what it's like to get ready for high school. And we have a lot of fun. We've had a long week. We've had a long training camp week, and everyone's ready for a long weekend to give the kids a break, but they work hard. They're great kids, and we have a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, we're excited to have you on with us here. I want to start off by you recently saying that this is the golden age of tight ends in the NFL. So when you say that, why do you think this? And to me, I want to know, like, what you're seeing from the tight ends today that maybe you hadn't seen from previous generations.
Yeah, I think when I think back to early in my career, especially when I was in Chicago as a young player, there was some iconic guys, right? We just saw Antonio Gates get inducted to the Hall of Fame, and Tony Gonzalez and Jason Witten, and it was on the tail end of Shannon Sharp. So, I mean, there was a lot of really good players at the tight end position, but it was top heavy. Now you look pretty much across the league, every single team in the league, at least the good teams, the playoff teams, and everyone has a significant contributor at the tight end position, if not one of their best players. So it's just, I think more kids now are growing up playing the position. It's no longer the converted offensive lineman, the converted quarterback, the wide receiver who was too slow, the kid who thought he was a basketball player at 17. And nowadays, these kids are growing up their whole lives learning the tight end position. And I think you can see it. I think more kids are coming out of college prepared. There's a lot of bigger bodies that are playing more athletic skill positions on offense. And I think the results speak for themselves. I mean, the last couple teams to be in the Super Bowl, all the way back to when we were playing 10 years ago, if you're going to make a run, it's almost unheard of to make a run without one of the prominent tight ends in the league. And, there's been some really good guys that have paved the way, a lot of the names I just mentioned, but you can make an argument from top to bottom across all 32 teams. I'm not sure there's ever been a better crop of NFL tight ends than there is right now.
That's the other thing too, is We used to in fantasy be like, we can't take a rookie tight end. It takes them some time to adjust to the league and put up numbers. That has changed. Sam Laporta 2 years ago, Brock Bowers setting records last year. So why are tight ends coming in now and making such a quick impact compared to recent seasons?
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I think back to my rookie year, I had 30 something catches and a couple hundred yards, but back then guys didn't make the immediate impact, right? You think, Jeremy Shockey was probably the exception to the rule in his time in New York. I think he was a Pro Bowler as a rookie. So there's a handful of exceptions, but I think a big reason why we're seeing it now is kind of to my last point where, Brock Bowers played, 3 years of tight end at Georgia. He wasn't a receiver. He wasn't a linebacker. He wasn't a converted basketball player or a quarterback. He came into the league with multiple years at a prominent school playing that position he plays in the NFL. And the same thing with Laporta and George Kittle and a lot of these guys that have come out in the last handful of years. They've played big time college football playing relatively traditional tight end position. So I think it's a big part of the development. I think teams have a better understanding nowadays on how to get the best. I think back to my rookie year, and before they let me ever run a route, I had to prove my worth an inside run trying to block 280-pound defensive ends, and that was a tough battle for a lot of these guys. Teams have smartened up. They're saying, "Listen, we didn't draft Brock Bowers to be a grinder in the run game. We need this dude to get down the field and create explosive plays in the pass." And teams are using the guys to their skill set. So I think it's a combination. The players better. I think the coaches have a better understanding for the position as time goes. And people aren't trying to just fit, square pegs in round holes anymore, like maybe they did, 15 years ago.
And again, we're talking with the one and only Greg Olson. So excited to have you on the show. Piggybacking off that question, then, what are your expectations for, the two rookies that we're most excited for in fantasy this season? It's Tyler Warren, it's Colston Loveland. Not necessarily for fantasy the best landing spots, whether it's quarterback competitions that they're going through, or a lot of mouths to feed for the Bears. But what are your expectations for both of them?
Yeah, so I'm actually excited to see Colston play this weekend. I'm actually calling the game up in Chicago. Buffalo is traveling to Chicago to play the Bears this weekend. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I obviously got to see him a handful of games just on TV in college. But just watching the little bit that I have of him, he's one of those young tight ends that they can create their own opportunities. You don't have to scheme. I always say there's and this is probably a good fantasy type conversation. There's two types of tight ends that play in the NFL. There's a guy I got a scheme open, and there's a guy that can get himself open. The super elite players do both, right? They play in an unbelievable system that plays to their strengths. And then when it's not the perfect look, it's not the perfect play call, they can make themselves open and go above the beyond the play, right? That's Kelsey, that's Kittle, that's the real top guys. So if you have a guy who's a good player who goes to a great system for the tight end, he can be really productive. And if you have a guy who's just an elite, a Brock Bowers or something who's just an elite athlete and can really get himself open in the right system, those guys become top tier. So I think you look at Loveland, I think in Ben Johnson's system, the only thing going against them is there are a lot of other weapons, right? There's Roma Dunze, there's DJ Moore, they're still developing Caleb Williams. So is it a run heavy type play action? But Ben Johnson showed that he's going to get his young tight ends involved. He did it in Detroit with Laporta. I really like him. I haven't studied Tyler Warren as much, granted, just been in the league a couple weeks, but watching what he did at Penn State was pretty impressive. He's kind of a jack of all trades, line up in a million different positions. And it'll be really interesting to see what Shane Steichen does getting him rolling.
We saw the Panthers down the stretch last year play really good football. They were competitive against Kansas City, competitive against Philadelphia. Bryce Young finished the season well, showed some rushing ability. They draft Tedero and McMillan. What are your thoughts on the Panthers for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement coming off of last year. Like you said, it's kind of the pre-benching and the post-benching that they were kind of tale of two teams, tale of two quarterbacks. So I think Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, the head coach and GM, I think they've done a great job continuing to build around Bryce to make sure that he has the supporting cast that he needs. Last year it was really the offensive line. They drafted Leggett. Now this year they drafted McMillan. So there's definitely not a shortage of skill around him. The defense is going to continue to get better, especially on the back secondary outside of JC Horn. They've got to defend the pass better, especially if the offense gets better. The better your offense is, the more more you have to be good defending the pass, right? It kind of goes hand in hand, complementary style offense and defense. So I think they're on their way. I think the division, there's some winnable games in that NFC South division that helps them schedule wise. But I really think that Dave Canales is doing a good job getting this thing going in the right direction.
And you said you're seeing the Bears this weekend. You get to call that game. Oh, how for us, Greg, because this is interesting for fantasy football. We're trying to decipher a lot of different things where we get breadcrumbs throughout the preseason games and just training camp. We want to know if Brees Hall is going to be in a rotation, what it's going to look like for Travis Hunter. Is he really going to get 80% of the offensive snaps? What do we look at during different situations throughout training camp as someone that's played and is now covering the NFL? How do we go about kind of learning what we're trying to see is going to happen when week one starts?
It's hard. Seeing, kind of seeing the forest through the trees is always a challenge. I'll tell you, it's a challenge for the coaching staff. It's a challenge for the front office. There were seasons where we couldn't win a game in the preseason, but we would sit in our meetings and be like, "We're pretty good." Like,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have a. And then there were team games that years that you did really well in the preseason. The scoreboard tells you that you're going to be great, but internally you look around and you go, I'm not sure if we have the pieces, right? I'm not sure if we're there. So it's not so much wins and losses. I think the really good teams approach preseason as let's see our processes, let's see our execution, let's really see guys' understanding of the playbook, let's see technique. I don't know. I think a guy can go out in the preseason and have a game where he gets 7 passes and catches them all. And the assumption is, oh my God, he's going to be the number 1 or 2 receiver. It doesn't usually play out that way. I think it's very hard. So I think I really think you have to take into mind who the coaches are from a fantasy perspective. I would say I'm looking at track record of the coach. I'm looking at track record of the quarterback. I'm looking at the system. Do they feature running backs in the passing game? Do they feature tight ends in the running game? Are they trying to spread wide receiver targets amongst 2 guys or 4? Right. That makes a big difference in my volume and stuff. So I think the preseason only tells part of the story. I think track record of for sure coach and quarterback would probably be my biggest considerations.
The Ravens and the Bills have been so close, but they can't get past that Kansas City team. Do you see either the Ravens or the Bills reaching the Super Bowl this year?
I think they're capable. I think you look at Buffalo. Obviously, I've studied them just a little bit more this week, getting ready for this game. Projected 20 out of 22 starters coming back from a team that again is right on the doorstep of winning the AFC and representing them in the Super Bowl. So I think they're close. I think, you got an MVP guy on both teams caliber, with Lamar and with Josh Allen. So you have an MVP type guy at the quarterback position, the consistency that they both do at coach with Harbaugh and McDermott. I think those are the pieces that you look for. But the problem is, so does the other team that you're trying to catch, right? So it's very rare for one conference, right? You go back to like the Brady days with the Patriots, and it was them, and it was Manning and Colts and whatnot. So it's just rare that there's 3 MVP type quarterbacks, Hall of Fame caliber coaches, longevity. They've been there for a long time. It's not year 2, it's not year 3. They all 3 of those guys. I mean, obviously Andy and Harbaugh, they've been in the league a million years. But like there's so much consistency at coach, roster, and quarterback. It's very rare for 3 of those teams to live within the same conference for this long length of time. So until someone beats Kansas City in the AFC Championship, we're going to continue to ask this question. Can those teams pass them? Absolutely. Will they? I don't think anyone could sit here and just say they're doing anything other than just guessing.
All right, Greg, I'm excited to talk to you about You Think because this is something that is near and dear to your heart, of course. But we got news just a couple days ago that you are, officially launching You Think. It's the digital platform built to support youth sports community. You've got great storytelling on there. You've got an exclusive interview right now going on with Tom Brady that everyone needs to go check out. But why You Think? What is it that makes this so near and dear to your heart?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I always say my full-time job right now is as a youth sports parent and coach. And I'll tell you, it's challenging. It's a very different landscape in a world than I grew up playing in. It's a lot more competitive, it's a lot more intense. And we've got to make sure that we give these kids the right processes and the right advice and the right environment to grow and develop. And also give the parents and the coaches the right tools and resources to lead these kids in the right direction. And whether it's talking to Tom about his backstory and his upbringing and his views on so many of these other hot button topics, or talking to Malcolm Gladwell. He'll be one of our guests in the next
Oh,
couple
nice.
weeks, one of the largest, world renowned thought, leader in so many different areas, especially relevant to the world of just parenting and coaching and youth sports and whatnot. Ryan Day, the national champion, now coach of Ohio State, sat down with me. I mean, we got a really cool, unique, wide berth of guests that I think bring a lot of insight that a lot of our followers and listeners, as parents, coaches, or athletes, can take a lot from. And then the other side of that is there's a commerce engine that we can really improve. You want to wear, we always joke, everyone's favorite team is whatever their son or daughter is playing on, right? They love the Carolina Panthers, but they really love their kids' travel ball team and they really love their kids' high school football team. Why not give that experience of merchandise and fanware and teamwear up to the standard that we're accustomed to when we go to Fanatics and buy a Carolina Panthers, jersey or t-shirt or whatever it is. So it's a really cool commerce engine. It's a really cool content platform. And we think it's going to really improve the experience of everybody right now in the world of youth sports.
Oh, that's awesome. And again, if people haven't gone, make sure you go and check it out, youth.inc, or you can make sure to go follow them on social media at Youth Inc, all across every platform. And it's nice, Greg, because it's obviously near and dear to your heart, and it's something you just came from a training camp for your son's, your son's team that you coach with your dad. So it's almost like, making it better for kids and making, places better where you came from and making it better for them sounds amazing.
It is. It's very rewarding. It can be frustrating at times and aggravating, but when you take a step back and look at it, it's very rewarding.
I've got one more for you before we let
Yeah.
you go, and it is the most impossible start, sit, cut question probably of your life for fantasy football. So start, sit, cut, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle.
Start, sit, cut. I'm going to start Kittle. I'm going to sit Bowers, and I guess I have to cut Trey McBride. And I'll give you my rationale. I think they're all three obviously incredible. You said it's a very hard one.
Yep.
I think Kittle and McCaffrey, I think, are going to be the focal point, especially early in that offense. I think obviously with Ayuk being injured and coming back, Ricky Pearsall, a rookie coming back, Debo's gone. I think McCaffrey healthy, obviously will get a ton of carries as he should. He should get the ball a bazillion times. I think him and Kittle carry the volume for that offense, and nobody understands how to get the best players on his team the ball as good as Kyle Shanahan. Bowers, I think last year, as great as he is and was, and I think he's going to be good for a long time. I think with Pete Carroll and that new system, I think so much of production sometimes can be masqueraded in my team is always losing. And we're so bad that I'm just always out there in 2-minute drill and I'm picking up a lot of yardage. And not all of his yards were obviously garbage time. I'm just saying the volume of opportunities when you're playing in shootouts and you're playing from behind, I think it's going to be a little more of a run heavy organization. I think Ashton Genty and Pete Carroll's track record with Geno Smith, I think they're going to be a run first volume offense with the play action stuff off of there. And I think Trey McBride's a great player. Last year, I think, from a fantasy perspective, he didn't score a ton of touchdowns. I don't remember when he scored his first. I just remember calling his game. It was like, this guy's on a historic pace of catches and yards. And I don't think he had a touchdown through I don't know, you probably could tell me better. 10 games.
Yeah, it was like week 17. It might have been.
Yeah, it was something crazy. So, but no, I think he's a really good young player. Just got paid a lot in that system. So again, all three equally great players. But if you put a gun to my head, that's probably what I would stick with.
I love it. Well, Greg, we appreciate you so much for joining us again. And we are so excited to not only, check out You Think, but see that interview with Tom Brady. And good luck this season. We're excited to listen to you and have a great year.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys having me.
All right. There he goes, Greg Olsen. We'll be back with you guys here shortly.
For our next segment, guys, we're going to be going all the way back to preseason to find some predictions and projections that actually turned out to be quite correct. So, yeah, plenty of wrong ones in there as well, as will be the case trying to predict the future in this lovely sport known as football. But again, did get a few things right, so wanted to go ahead and celebrate those because it is pretty cool when that does work out. So this next segment is brought to you guys by Xfinity. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy. Xfinity, imagine that. Enjoy. Next up, we have Mr. Christian McCaffrey. Now, this is a different situation where I'm more in line to favor Freeman right now because I've also drafted a lot of CMC, and Freeman is more so in favor of him having the bigger workload. 224 carries, 82 targets. Dwayne, 190 carries and just 67 targets for Christian McCaffrey. Explain yourself.
It's kind of funny. I felt like the Christian McCaffrey hero like 2.5 months ago, whenever I insanely did week 1 projections for some reason that early, just to like, see what they look like. And McCaffrey came out number 1, like as you would expect him to. And I put a tweet out about that. And, and I'm not saying the tweet is the reason for this, but at that time, Ian, we were getting him in the early second round, sometimes the mid second round of fantasy drafts. Now he's a mid first round pick. He's moved up a whole round since then. And I do think part of it, as reality sets in on what it's going to look like for McCaffrey in week 1, my question really with McCaffrey is, can he stay healthy all season? And if he does stay healthy, is it really the same CMC that we've been used to seeing? And I think that's a legit question, right? And so I haven't projected for 55% of the carries. I'm probably pretty close to Freeman. Freeman, you can jump in here if I'm wrong. The difference is I've got him most likely. The difference is that I've got him projected for 13.5 games. My guess is Freeman has him higher. I'm a little concerned. In 2024, we got 4 games out of McCaffrey, really only 3. 2021, we got 7 games. 2020, we got 3 games. Now, the 2 games in between, we got 16 and 17. So I just feel like there's just enough questions for me that I don't feel comfortable projecting him at the full 15.5, which is typically what Freeman and I both give to running backs.
Freeman?
All right, I will say that when Dwayne and I met up for our projections summit with barbecue and maybe a small amount of beer, I was fully at that point on Christian McCaffrey RB1 in the projections. And Dwayne talked me off of it a little bit, which meant I dropped him down to like RB4 in the projections. But since then, I've tweaked, I've moved back up, and he's now my RB1 in projections. That doesn't mean I'm going to take him there, but like just look at kind of the big picture things. Christian McCaffrey is healthy right now. He's participated fully in all team activities this offseason. That is really big. Now, if at any point in this preseason we get the report of, oh, Christian McCaffrey has tweaked something, then I will be right there lockstep with Dwayne and dropping him down to 13.5, 13, 12 games. But right now, he is healthy. He still has Kyle Shanahan as the play caller, Brock Purdy is the quarterback. He still has left tackle Trent Williams, fullback Kyle Juszczyk. Both of those guys are all pros. So I think the offense is basically still intact, but the running game should really be intact. But then you look, Jordan Mason is gone. Elijah Mitchell is gone. The running game is really going to funnel through Christian McCaffrey. And then the wide receiver room is really uncertain. Debo is gone. Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall are both on PUP. Jawan Jennings wants a new contract or a trade, right? Like this offense could basically be itself, but highly funneled through Christian McCaffrey. And so I guess I'm saying if the thesis of drafting him in round 2 is he's going to stay healthy and basically look like Christian McCaffrey, then we pretty much should just be drafting him in round 1. And if we're doing that, we're basically assuming he's Christian McCaffrey and the number 1 overall running back. If not number 1, like top 3, but I think even in round 1, and it's the big caveat, if he stays healthy, and it's like kind of impossible to project running back health, and Dwayne's points about him missing so many games over the past 5 years, those points are well taken. But right now he's healthy. I'm assuming he's going to have no more of an injury risk than really any other running back going in round 1. And if that's the case, man, I think he could just absolutely smash. Another way of phrasing this is he doesn't have to be drafted like a top 3 running back, but he easily has that within his range of outcomes. So I like drafting him where he's going right now.
He pretty much does have to be drafted like a top 3 running back, though. I mean, I get it. You don't have, basically you got to take him by like pick 6. So that's the big challenge for me, like with him in drafts. I certainly am taking him some because of all the things you said. And if you look at his points per game projection, I don't know where you're at, Friedman, but I'm at 17.4 in PPR. We're probably really close because we're both a tad conservative in these things because we know sometimes people use these things to bet prop bets and things like that. But that's definitely one of my top guys on a points per game basis. And if he does stay healthy all year, like he could easily score more like 21 or 22. My question is, like, if you don't take him, do we really think it kills you given how strong the first round is this year? Like if you take Puka Nacua and you get 20 points there and you feel better about him, is it really going to be that big of a deal if Christian McCaffrey scores 21 points per game? Probably not. I think McCaffrey has to go off for like the 25 per game in the range of outcomes. But I do believe at this point, and at his age, I don't think we should be expecting like that same kind of season. Now, he is a great receiver. That definitely gives him outs. We saw Alvin Kamara on a complete piece of crap team, like putting up all these fantasy points last year because of what he can do as a receiver. So I think that's a great immediate reminder right away, guys. Just look at what Kamara did last year. And if you're listening to Friedman, especially in a PPR, like the dude was insane. He was one of the best running backs in fantasy, even though he wasn't as efficient as he used to be because he can catch the ball.
Good pull up our fantasy life
19.9
ADP tool. 19.9. Okay, so Freeman's
PPR
a little bit higher than Dwayne. But what's interesting is, yes, if you are out there in some of these, higher stakes streets, you are going to see CMC going to closer to pick 6. But man, Yahoo, ESPN, these other places, we're still seeing the guy towards the bottom of round 1. Over at Sleeper right now, Christian McCaffrey, pick 14.5 on average. Guys, if you are somehow in round 2 of fantasy draft and you see CMC there, run, do not walk to go ahead and draft that man. But man, pick 11 over at Yahoo, Dwayne. Sign me up for that 8 days of the week.
Yeah, so Yahoo, I mean, you're playing half PPR. So running backs move up even more. Even the CMC can like move up into PPR as well, obviously, because he catches the ball. But yeah, the sleeper one and the Yahoo ones, those are much more palatable, in my opinion. Underdog, he's already moved up to the middle of the first round. And again, I'm still drafting him some because like he is like he's a freak. Like what he can do, most other running backs can't do because he's such a huge dual threat.
We'll say just personally, I think that I'd be a little bit more inclined to believe they're going to reduce his workload if they hadn't traded Jordan Mason or Deebo Samuel or let Elijah Mitchell walk out the door. Isaac Rendo, Jordan James, not saying they can't be good handcuffs, but I firmly do believe when CMC is out there, we're going to see CMC do what he does. Now,
hey, just real quick before we go, Ian, before we go on, like I don't know where Friedman has him projected as far as the percentage, of carries. But it's not like CMC. Now, last year in 3 games, he got 68%, right? Super, super small sample. But in 2023, and this adjusts for games missed, he missed 1 game. He had 58% of the carries. I've got him at 55%. The year before, he had 50% of the carries. So, I mean, it's not like they've given this guy 65, 70% of the rushing attempts. They do load him up in the pass game. I'm giving him a 70% route participation, a 73%. I don't think he's coming off the field for the most part in the passing game, but I do think there's a little bit of risk. Grendo looked pretty good. They spent a draft pick on Jordan James. My guess is those guys probably get like 30% of the rushing workload, maybe a little more.
After very careful thought and consideration, round 2 goes to Matthew Friedman. It's tied up 1-1, everybody. Good job, Friedman. Dwayne, be better if you want to change the scoreboard. Guys, if you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta have Xfinity. All the games all in one place, and there are a number of features that, again, really do make having Xfinity worth it. There's a Sports Zone, which features every pro football game and over 1,000 college games, highlights, alerts, all in one place. Imagine that, all your sports in one place in the year 2025. I feel like it's 1995 all over again, but the cool thing we have going for us in 2025, guys, is the multi-view feature. Allows you to beat up to 4 stadiums at once. 4 at once. You don't even need multiple TVs. If you do, you could be in 8 stadiums all at once. Think about the possibilities there. There's also the Xfinity Fan View, live scores, odds, and stats all in one place, personalized to you, a scholar. And guess what? You can watch all this with Xfinity Enhanced 4K, a simply stunning viewing experience. So guys, to check all this out with Xfinity, just use your voice remote and just say football. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy. Xfinity, imagine that. Just note that you can learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions do apply. This is for new residential customers only. Taxes and fees are extra and subject to change.
Atlanta and New England here, Matthew, and see what our expectations are for one Kayshon Boutte. He is the wide receiver 10 over the last 3 weeks. Do we need to start Frankensteining, see what we did there, Boutte, into our lineups every single week? Matthew, what do you think?
No, listen, Kendall, I don't think you should. I mean, do I love Boutte? Of course I love Boutte. Everyone loves Boutte as well. And, there's no question that the Patriots have a nice Boutte. But what I would say is I'm concerned about the Boutte this week. Kendall, when you think about the fact that the Falcons allowed the second fewest yards per game on deep passes, Kayshon Boutte has not had a game with more than 5 targets since week 1. So we've seen the splash plays. We've seen the deep touchdowns and the great grabs, but that's really what you're banking on here. You're banking on one big play. Does he get there? I'm not convinced he does against this Falcons defense that is really easy to run against, but has been really strong in the secondary to date. I think it's a big Stephon Diggs game this week, actually. I think you'll see some Hunter Henry as well. Kind of like TreVeyon Henderson, who last week was kind of starting to, show on the fulfill some of the promise he showed in the preseason. But I just don't know that Kayshon Boutte has a big enough day. I am just outside my top 40. He's my wide receiver 41 this week. So sort of depends on how desperately you need some Boutte this week. But I might look elsewhere.
Kendall, you know me. I'm always willing to prop up Boutte. Right? Like I'm always willing to hold Boutte up. I'm a Boutte man, right? Like I get it.
Everyone knows.
But this one, to me, I just need to see more consistent Boutte. I think if anybody is getting consistent Boutte, then they feel better about their fantasy hopes, right? Like how could you not feel good if Boutte's always on the menu? And so like if you're thinking about it from that standpoint, I need to see him get the level of, attention from his quarterback. I need to know that I'm not the only one that loves Boutte. I need to know that Drake May loves Boutte as well. And so once I feel like that, and I don't know if I feel like that yet, Matthew. I don't know if I feel like Drake May loves Boutte yet.
Yeah, we don't know what he's into yet. Like he's still, he's a young guy. He's still figuring out. Right. He's still figuring out where he wants to, set his sights, his attention, his targets, of course, and so sometimes he's dabbled with a Boutte, but sometimes, he's checked out Diggs. And so it just depends on what Drake May's point of view is this week. Like I've said, this is all about Kayshon Boutte, the Patriots wide receiver. If you're pure of heart, this is a completely fantastic conversation. I'm just saying that right now. And Kayshon Boutte is my wide receiver 41 this week.
You guys good? You done? This is a family show. I want to remind you, kids are watching. We're dressed up for Halloween. It's fine. Whatever. Whatever we need to do.
Kendall, what did we say that was wrong?
Nothing. Nothing.
Both Gene and I were talking about Kayshon Boutte, who's an NFL wide receiver. Again, if you're pure of heart, Kendall, I don't know if you are or not, but if you're pure of heart, all we did was discuss Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's going to win us awards. I like that one. We're going to submit that one and it'll be great. I like it. Let's look on the other side. Let's look at the Rams. I know that we've already talked about Matthew Stafford, but the other side of this game is the Rams defense. Are they making you question if you should Brissett it and forget it?
Making me question who and what and why. Like who's over there? Like who thinks in the history of people? You know what? Just give me 1 second. Hold on. I gotta get it right. I gotta make sure people understand what we're talking about right here. Let me check myself out. It's Brissett it and forget it. This isn't some hype that came off of 1 year that they've been rolling out for 3 years. This is banger on banger on banger on banger on banger. This is Brissett out here looking like primetime Warren Moon. Like, what are we talking about here? You'll see these numbers. These aren't made up numbers. He was QB 10 the week that he was 22.8. Who's putting up numbers like that? Nobody. Like, what are you talking about? Like, if we're really being honest about it, right? Let's look at what Brissett did when he turned the ball over for 2 touchdowns, 2 fumble return touchdowns against Seattle. Look at the numbers that he put up still in that place. It was better than Matt Stafford's numbers versus Seattle. Had Matt Stafford looking real human versus Seattle. And now you're going to tell me he's going up against a defense that he knows because they're all in the same same division. He's ready for this. This is the beautiful thing about Brissett and the reason why I'm so high on him, Marcus. If they're trying to win the game, Brissett's got to throw the ball a lot. If they're losing the game, Brissett's going to throw the ball a lot. 40 plus attempts, 50 attempts. It don't matter. His arm's not going to fall off. That's a well-preserved arm on a man who was born to throw the ball. Give me Jacoby Brissett. You can put Jesus Christ and all the disciples out there on defense. It don't matter to me. It's going to be Brissett it and forget it. It's Wilson to the moon. You know what? If you bring back whoever you want to put at wide receiver, and he's a double-digit fantasy scorer with Jacoby Brissett. That's how good he's been. Josh Gordon, he still got some time left. He's got some legs left, Marcus. Let's get Josh Gordon out here and have him play. He'll get you 15 right now with Jacoby Brissett. I don't even understand this. The audacity of our producers to go to this level with Jacoby Brissett.
I know.
And be afraid of a Rams defense. The audacity.
I know. Marcus,
you know what?
I don't really have much to add to that other than I agree wholeheartedly with everything Gene said. Jacoby Brissett has understood the assignment from the first moment he took over for Kyler Murray. So yeah, I have no fear about the Rams defense, what that might mean. In fact, look, if the Rams offense runs out and hides like I think they will, yeah, to Gene's point, they're going to have to keep slinging the ball. They can't run it anyway. So no, I am not worried at all about Jacoby Brissett.
And you don't get Kyler Murray back the rest of the season. If people missed that over the weekend, Kyler Murray is going to be out the rest of the way. Stop, Gene. We don't want injuries, but I will say Jacoby Brissett is not a bad person to look at the rest of the way for your fantasy squads. You're happy about it if you're a Trey McBride manager, Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's able to come back, Michael Wilson, etc. So you will not have Kyler Murray the rest of the way.
Hey guys, for our next segment, we're going to be calling back to some of our best calls from our ranking shows on the Fantasy Life show. If you guys are following along throughout the year, myself and Dre McFarland will go through the top 12, top 24 players at each position, go through the injuries, go through the risers, go through the followers. But then it was time to go hard with our friends over at Mike's Hard Lemonade. Dwayne will give a sicko start, and I will give my Hartitz heater in an attempt to be a little bit bold out there, go against the grain, and hopefully get you guys a leg up on your competition. So rest assured, we got plenty of these wrong, but hey, as we all know, that broke clock is still right twice a day. At least the analog ones were. I don't know about the digital ones anymore, so maybe a bit of a flaw in that logic. But regardless, guys, we're going through some of our best sicko starts and Hartitz heaters from the last season, again presented by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get sick, Dwayne. And this is someone who, again, maybe isn't at the top of our ranks for this week, but almost similar to your Kendra Miller call from earlier. If you are more so looking for a long-term answer to the position, maybe this could be your guy.
Yeah, Rondé Gadsden II, rostered in 2% of Yahoo leagues, Ian. Only in 1% of starting lineups. This is a true sicko call, but it's really more about the fact of what you just talked about. Like, his role's already growing. So he's done that part. His route participation has gone from 28 to 50 to 61 to 77% over the last 4 games. Last week, Tyler Conklin played 0% of the snaps despite being available. Will Disley returned to the lineup, and this guy was still out there rocking. So he had a utilization score of 88 on the week with 11.8 fantasy points. It's a crowded offense, guys. You got Quentin Johnson, you got Ladd McConkey, you have Keenan Allen. So it could be rocky, but there's a ton of contingent upside. If any one of these guys misses time, we already had Quentin Johnston miss last week, still coming back from the hamstring injury. Like, Gadsden honestly looks like the next guy that's going to be the most valuable, not Trey Tucker, not Keandre Lambert-Smith. Those guys did get a little bit more playing time last week, but Gadsden's clearly on the field more than them, and he might be the guy that really benefits the most. And he also can operate from the slot and do a lot of things that a player – he's a different stylistic player than Keenan Allen, but he can play in that same area of the field, right? In the area where you want to target players like Keenan Allen. So I think you could make an argument, Ian, that like knowing that we think Njoku eventually, is going to come back. We know with Cade Otton, this week we like him more, but you're eventually getting Mike Evans. You're going to get Ibuka. We'll see what happens, from a standpoint with Chris Godwin and Michael Mayer. We know eventually, not even knock on wood, we just hope we get Brock Bowers back. Gadsden's the one of all these names, if you're having to take a swing and you're hoping that he might actually already be more because he's already carved out a role for himself. Like, you could make an argument that if you're looking at long-term and this week, Gadsden is the right name to pick up. and he's just available everywhere. So, and the Xfinity ceiling is not bad, guys. It's not that far off from the other players we talked about. It's lower, which is to Ian's point, because of all those names. Gadsden gets pushed down this week. But if those scenarios weren't there, he would probably be ranked like tight end 14, 13. It's just a weird week where there's all these tight end streamers available. But his Xfinity best ceiling, 18.7 fantasy points, a median of 9. So it's not like he's sitting down there like in like a complete dumpster fire. He's kind of in range with the other like borderline tight end ones, the high end tight end 2s.
I will say, guys, there's a couple updates that we've had trickle, I guess would be the better way of saying that word, throughout the show as we get, the West Coast, injury reports coming in. We did get word from George Kittle saying that he fully does plan to play this week. Awesome news. Start George Kittle in lineups of all shapes and sizes. Quentin Johnson also practiced in full on Thursday. Good. So again, going to squeeze things a little bit for Gadsden and company, but he should be back out there. Really good matchup again against a very, very banged up and just overall not.
I do have Quentin projected.
Colts secondary.
So,
yeah.
These projections are with Quentin Johnston in. So that's, I was assuming Quentin would play. But Corum, you talk about him regularly each week in your rankings column and in the work you do or in the 10 things to know. And Blake Corum is one of the best handcuffs. So only taken in 20, or he's available in 75% of the leagues, Ian. He's only in 5% of starting lineups. But Kyron Williams, he's dealing with the ankle injury. We do expect him to play. Sean McVay has been very positive, about Kyron. He came back into the game last week. So we think he's probably playing. But like if he's dealing with an injury that opens things up to potentially re-aggravate something during the game, that could be an issue. But the big thing for Corum is excluding all that, getting rid of that from, Kyron Williams. If you look at him, he's averaged 10 rushing attempts per game since week 7. So he actually has projectable volume, and we've got a really good situation here where the Rams are 8.5-point favorites. They've got the number 2 team total on the slate at 28.5. And if something did happen with Kyron, this would obviously be the waiver wire cover player of the week would be Blake Corum. So, and it actually doesn't project bad, man. 6.8 at a median. I know you guys are like, oh man, that's gross. But his Xfinity best ceiling is 12.3. Essentially, does he score a touchdown or not? That's the difference between his median projection and his ceiling projection. So I love playing guys like Corum in game scripts like this, and you get the added benefit that if somehow, again, we never want these things to happen. If Kyron were to miss time, I do believe you would be plugging Blake Corum straight into a role that we think was equal, honestly, potentially more than Kyron. Because we don't know that Blake Corum would have to share volume with Jarquez Hunter, the rookie, who just hasn't even been able to be active most games this year. So there's a chance you would see like an 80% snap share going to Blake Corum. We've certainly seen Sean McVay willing to do that in the past, Ian. We've seen him do it with Darrell Henderson. We've seen him do it with Kyron Williams. We saw him do it. Todd Gurley, like why wouldn't you give a guy an 80% snap share when their name's Todd Gurley? But he's done this with lesser backs as well. We've even had stints where Cam Akers was getting 75% snap shares.
Hey, pre-Achilles Cam Akers, Dwayne, was special, okay? No slander for Akers here. But no, CJ
visor.
Anderson, a bunch of guys. Oh, 100%, man. That's what really matters at the end of the day. But no, I couldn't agree more. Again, guys, Corum, Brian Robinson, Bashal Tootin, and Tyler Algier. If I did have my pick of, all the handcuffs in the league, those probably would be the top 4. I would be trying to stash 4 down the stretch. Give me Jawan Jesus himself torching the Carolina Panthers for, 87 yards and a touchdown. I couldn't quite say 100. It is the Saints after all. But guys, again, caught the first touchdown from Tyler Shuck last week. And just as horrific as the midseason was for Jawan, we've seen him get back in the position's top 15 here over the past third of this early season. So again, not exactly reaching those top 2 tight end heights that were crazy for weeks 1 through 3, but still playing some good ball. And again, as much as Rashid Shaheed leaving maybe does help out Chris Olave, I don't know how it can help the dude out anymore when he's already second in the NFL in targets. Why wouldn't it help out Jawan Johnson over guys like Mason Tipton, Brandon Cooks, Devon Bailey, whoever else is out there? So Panthers this year, dead last in EPA allowed per target to tight end. You can pick whatever other stat you want, and guess what? They are bad in that as well. So our tight end 17 consensusly, Dwayne and I are in alignment there. We have them ahead of guys like Mason Taylor, Dalton Schultz, Evan Ingram, Luke Musgrave himself. Still behind Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, Theo Johnson, Mark Andrews. But yes, guys, Jawan Johnson, I do believe better days could be ahead. fun stuff there. And I will say, as someone who, makes these bull calls every single week, it is funny hearing the ones that actually go right. And my initial thought, and I think all of our just kind of wiring as human beings, is like, oh yeah, duh. Look how that worked out. Look how right I was. And then when it goes wrong, it's like, oh, well, here's, 5 or 6 reasons. Like I'm Chris Jericho, with the entire scroll there of reasons why it went wrong. Surely the times I got right, wasn't random. That was just good, strong, intellectual thinking. But either way, it was, again, fun to embrace some positive vibes here as we close out 2025 and get into 2026, where I'm sure we'll be wrong plenty more, but maybe, just maybe, we'll get a few more things right. So for one last time to wrap up 2025, guys, this has been brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade, because playing it safe is how you end up watching the playoffs from the couch. Rising third-year wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, fresh off a season where he did catch triple-digit, passes. That's great to see. Finished as the wide receiver 18 in PPR points per game. Now going at about that same spot, depending on, again, where you are playing fantasy football. But my main question here with JSN, Dwayne, is unlike someone like Ladd McConkey, we don't have the amazing underlying factors. I mean, just looking at these past 2 seasons, JSN among 82 wide receivers, 55th in yards per out run, 47th in targets per out run. That said, I'm guessing you're about to tell us that he still does generally fit the archetype of someone who we could reasonably expect a wide receiver 1 breakout from.
Yeah, I mean, and really what you have to look at with JSN and these things, like they're just layered, but you try to look for, break points and different things in the season that you can look at. And I hate arbitrary cutoffs. So if you guys read the article and you see an arbitrary cutoff by me, like just DM me and tell me I'm a complete idiot, because I go out of my way to avoid it. What I'm typically looking for is, when did a player take over a larger role? When did something in their team change? Something that we can look at and say, okay, this actually makes sense for the way we should think about the player moving forward. And one of the big things for JSM, we had DK Metcalf miss those couple of games in week 8 and week 9. And man, him and Geno just really gelled in a new kind of way. If you look at him weeks 1 to 7, Ian, 21% target share, 1.1 yards per route run, 13.4 fantasy points per game. Weeks 8 to 18, this dude had a 27% target share. And that's a pretty big sample. Week 8 to 18, 2.41 yards per route run, 17.7 fantasy points per game. So not quite as long as what we had from McConkey, which is why he's going later than McConkey. Also have a few questions here. Sam Darnold, going to start seeing ghosts again? I don't know. I mean, there's questions. We got a couple of tackles that can be pretty good, for the Seahawks if they can stay healthy, but they've got some interior offensive line issues. They did make some upgrades there. So I think there's a little bit of a concern there. We also have Cooper Kupp coming to the team, but man, I don't know about you. I'm just not going to worry about Cooper Kupp that much. And the reason why is DK Metcalf leaves. At this point at DK Metcalf's in his career, even though he was never the alpha target earner we've seen from Kupp, I still think it's roughly the equivalent, right? You take away DK Metcalf, and if Kupp has a good season, it's probably somewhere the same. And JSN was still able to keep it going last year, even once we saw DK Metcalf return. So there's a smidge of a potential issue there. If they ask JSN to play a role he's really not good at, I just don't see them doing that with this young player. They spent a first-round pick on 3 years. Honestly, Ian, I really do feel like if the Sam Darnold thing can work out, right, and they can keep him clean, there is a scenario where we look up and Kupp is injured again or really isn't what he once was. Who else are they going to throw the ball to? I know we got some Elijah Arroyo hype going. Guys, hand up. I even put a tweet out about Elijah Arroyo. There's some things to like. But, man, we could be talking about 150-plus targets very easily for JSN this year.
Okay. All right.
Dream, come on.
I can't get shown up by the ladies.
Can I swear?
Oh gosh. It was
I think the producers said that the budget allows 1 F-bomb per person. All right, Kendall.
All right, my hot take.
This is level 3. What you got?
Okay, my hot take is happening. And that is to say, that I don't think this is every day. When I look at this, I could say this every year since 2002. The Green Bay Packers select a wide receiver first round. And I don't think that, that is spicy to me. because they haven't done it since 2002. So, excuse me, sorry for everyone just listening and just having to hear that. But I just have to say, Green Bay's pass catchers right now, not great. And they already had Christian Watson go down. He is not going to come back he is probably, in my opinion, not going to come back for the 2025 season just because of how late that injury was. If he does come back, that's great. Happy for him. But you do not want to be drafting him this year. It's going to be in late November going into December. And maybe he goes on a run, but I don't think you want to bet on that. So when I look at this team and I say, all right, they're going to draft a first-round wide receiver, I'm looking at Emeka Egbuka because he is a polished route runner. I really like him. I think that's also the wide receiver that's going to be around there at their pick. Now, here's where I make this spicier because I felt like when I was looking at this rundown, I was like, that's not spicy enough. If they don't want to do that, they go out and they trade for Tyreek Hill before this or on NFL draft night. But they go out and get a wide receiver. They go out and I was going to say either him or I was looking at other guys, but like George Pickens, I think George Pickens could still potentially be drafted or could be traded on draft night. I'm saying words. It's just like word vomit right now. But if they don't do that, they have to get some more help in there. They can't just say, yeah, we're good with Dontavian Wicks. We're good with Reed. I like those guys. Let's get some more help in there. Let's add to this wide receiver room. If it's not Tyreek Hill traded, they go get Emeka Egbuka.
But you know who else agrees with you?
Who?
Oh, sorry.
No,
Josh Jacob agrees with you. Josh Jacob agrees. He said, I think we need a guy that's proven to be a number one wide receiver already. And that's how I hear it. Like, oh, already. He's so over it, Kendall. The wide receiver core in Green Bay last year had more total drops. I can't even read my stats. They had a lot of drops. Their drop rate drop rate was the top in the league at 8.4%. They led the league. The wide receivers are struggling just like we are. They need to boost it up. So I don't hate it. And I'm sorry, when even your running back is saying, hey, we need a guy to be that guy for us, that's bad. We need to get Jordan Love some help. And I even on like icing on the cake, Aaron Rodgers for so long wanted that wide receiver one and wanted them to spend those draft picks. So I think it would be even more fun if they do it again for Jordan Love.
Gene, I hate to say it. Right, can you do one more? Can we all do one more?
One more bite.
Okay.